All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Today we have a very exciting roundtable conversation with a few of the participants of our past few challenges. And I'm very excited to talk to them about their experience, about what they got out of it, and what advice they have for all the upcoming cohorts. So let's get started. If I may ask each of you to please say hi to our audience and introduce yourself. What is your story?
Yeah, hi, I'm E Bartlett. I am an ex-bank executive. I am currently retired. I've had a pretty storied career. I've run teams up to 2,000 people, and I was an IBM fellow, which is a very prestigious accolade from my time at IBM. I've been involved in startups. I sold a startup for $350 million to IBM, hence why I joined IBM. And now I'm kind of, retired, looking at various projects, doing, fun things, I guess, is one way of putting it.
Hello, my name is Edward Johnson. My background, I'm from the UK originally, but I've not lived there since 1991. I am what they call a business technologist. I've led engineering teams. I've created many, many things. I've lived for many years in Switzerland. I was a CTO at a medium-sized private bank. And I've also worked in Germany, in Asia, and now in Canada. And I'm really into new technologies and artificial intelligence. And this is what I'm after, the link between AI and people.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rueda. I'm a PhD candidate at Ryerson University doing Parkinson's voice analysis. I'm a returning student from the industry, and my background has been in product management in high-tech companies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Luan Nguyen. Currently, just joined Deloitte as an analytic consultant, but my background was something entirely different. Spent a lot of my time studying chemistry, got a PhD in chemistry, and then not too long ago transitioned to data science, simply because I felt like my work in chemistry wasn't very fulfilling, and so I wanted to make an impact by building products, something useful, and data science seems to be that thing, that just a natural transition to me. And during my learning process, I decided to boost that by joining Aggregate Intellect, and here I am.
Hi, my name is Martin Fabbri. I'm a computer scientist with a background in software engineering. I build solutions, enterprise solutions in different domains. And for the past 5 years, I've transitioned into machine learning, and I'm working on the healthcare space, mainly developing solutions that automate processes and also extract data out of medical records.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for quickly introducing yourselves. So the reason that you are here is that some of you are the winners of our sixth cohort. It was focused on NLP. And some of you are the winners of our eighth cohort. I guess that's a bit of a news, but I'm telling you that right now. So maybe very quickly, each of you can quickly tell us, how did you hear about the challenge and what made you want to participate in it?
And I'd been watching the videos, for the year, and I was really impressed with the quality of what was going on. So there popped up a cohort challenge, and I thought, let's just check it out and see have I still got the chops? Can I, as an ex-exec who really hasn't actually touched code for my day job for 20 years, and I've only ever really done this stuff, at home. Could I enter a competition, and how would I fare?
The reason why I got involved in ACE, or Aggregate Intellect, was really linking up the idea of being in a network of people who are actually working with the AI technologies and building something practically. And especially during the point of the pandemic, when everybody was at home, I started to write about building things, and I needed to find an outlet of how to build things and together with people. And this was the place. And being able to do that with people who are actually real clients was fantastic. And that's why I said I have to do this challenge.
So I came to know about the challenges after watching some of the technical talks that Aggregate Intellects host on YouTube. And I think I was watching the recap of some of the previous competitions, and I thought it was really interesting. And I noticed that there was some structure behind it. It was more than just trying to optimize some model, trying to hit some metrics. It was more like building a whole product. And like I told you, I really liked that there was a structure behind it. There was some methodology that can be followed. And it also attracted me to the fact that it works closely with startups. And it was a startup, at that time there was a startup on the finance space that was sponsoring this challenge. And I always wanted to break into finance with machine learning, and this was a great opportunity to jump into.
I used to take some workshops with ACE, and there's very different. It basically guide you through the whole path of a whole MVP phase, the prototyping phase. So it's a lot more than just coding and learning the methods, but you have to look at, is there a business case on it? What are the epic story you are going to, there's a reason behind to even to work on the project. And in addition to that, you have to look into what are the possible solutions and to try to find one that's workable and work better than the other ones and implement it. So I think this is a better comprehensive than the workshop in a sense. You learn the whole spectrum.
What attracted me to this challenge was the fact that I was going to build a complete AI products, go through that process from end to end. I think that part was attractive to me the most. I believe and agree that that is a great way to learn.
All right, thanks everybody. So let's talk about your experience a bit. So when you entered the challenge, sort of you had some expectations. You just told us a little about what they were, but maybe you can quickly recap what did you expect from the experience, and in reality, how did it turn out?
Yeah, I guess I didn't know what to expect going in. But what it really, for me, it was really how well would I kind of perform in such a challenge? What I could see was that there were some really good people involved, and you kind of want to make sure you can be part of it. And so it was really a question of can I, and that was what my question to myself was going in. So my expectation was this was either going to spit me up and chew me, chew me up and spit me out, or it was going to, I was going to have a lot of fun. So it was really just benchmarking yourself in some ways to understand. Plus the problem was one I kind of like, so it was kind of interesting to me to experience it. So my expectation was by the end of it, I was either going to feel really pissed off with myself or at least no.
So one of my expectations was to have that healthy exchange of ideas with my team members. And it turned out really well because both of my peers came with a wealth of industry experience. Even one of them had a strong, really strong experience in finance. So I learned a lot. And having that kind of conversations, having that kind of exchange, it was something that I was going after. And it turned out to be very positive. I learned a lot. I was able to share some of my experiences as well. And I think we all grew out of this.
I thought I would have to implement everything from the server end from scratch. And it turned out I have a really good team. Everyone was pretty knowledgeable. So that helps a lot. Like we have Edward, and he's really good at talking to the clients and make everyone feels comfortable and getting the requirements specifically in detail, right? So that helps a lot. And Luan was really good as well. Really happy to work with Luan, actually. It's like kind of like the technical savvy in the group. So basically, yeah, so we worked kind of sharing all the responsibilities. That was a really surprise. The team dynamic works pretty well, actually. So I think that's a really important thing to get this thing done. And everyone is not overwhelmed with their jobs. So if you have a problem, you can talk to the team members. So that was really good.
Yeah, my expectations on joining were that I would have a lot of time to go through the various papers and exercises and speak with the client and so on, and join with some really good people, because most of the people I've met at Aggregate Intellect are really, really smart, very, very strong in the technology, the various specific areas. And I thought this could be a good chance also to bring in my people skills for getting things through. And that was what I expected at the beginning. And what actually happened was there is a lot of material. If you really want to do something thorough, you need to spend time. But one of the things is that you really need to make your team really, really quickly and form it so that you can cooperate. And I think that, it's normal in a technological environment that some people are less good at that than others. So that was a little bit of it was a challenge that I wanted to take on to drive the project home.
Yeah. Overall, certainly very, very positive experience. I think I honestly did not expect it to be turn out as well, given that I was new to it and it was my first time. But certain thing that impressed me was how well the group was structured. I think everybody has came in with their own set of specialties, and I think they're complementing each other well. So I was surprised of how well that turned out, the cohesive, and the materials that we went through that were provided by the challenge, the learning material that came along with the challenge, I thought was very comprehensive. I think it provides just enough for us to get started and being able to go out there and do additional research.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your experiences. So just for those who are less familiar, on Aggregate Intellect, what we do is that we bring in problem statements from startups who are trying to find solutions to very challenging business problems they're tackling. And it is very clear, I guess all of us know, that startups have to innovate or die. And we are hoping to play our part in helping the startups flourish by essentially crowdsourcing, helping them crowdsource solutions to their problems. And the advantage of that is that they get to tap into talent of excellent folks like those who we have on this roundtable. And find very interesting solutions to those problems. So one of the important advantages of this setup is that folks like yourselves get to interact with the startup founders that you might necessarily not do in your day-to-day work or interactions. So how was that experience like? Walk us through how that interaction happened, and what was the interesting, valuable part of that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's always clear with startups is they're challenged for time, right? I mean, they've got to move quickly, and I think what was fascinating to me was, the guys from the company we were working with, Bluefire, were really, despite being challenged for time, that they did actually find some moments of quality time to spend with us. And we were just a challenge. Why would they necessarily spend time with us? But they did, and it was challenging. I mean, tough to find time with them. But when we got it, it was amazing. I mean, we had a couple of sessions. One in particular with one of the founders, Luke. He took us through his thought processes, and it was really, very educational in terms of how he as an individual thinks. And part of what we were coming up with is how do we capture that sort of thought process that he goes through, and how do we capture that in some AI, some machine learning sort of algorithm that's going to get somewhere close to the way he's thinking. And so it was great to be able to interact with someone like that, for him to share his process, his thoughts and understanding. And then the other thing was, in industry, data is really dirty. I mean, no matter what, you can pick up a Kaggle challenge and some of the data is pretty clean, really, to be honest. So, but this was dirty data. I mean, it had everything in it, and it was really good to get some real stuff. They weren't cleaning it up and giving you the pristine data, and then it was a toy project. This was real stuff, real project. And you could tell it was live, so that was what was great about this.
When we were on the competition, on the third week after releasing the beta, all the teams, there were 3 teams, okay, on this competition, and we were all hitting the sponsor expectations in terms of the metrics that they were facing. And they threw at us their out-of-distribution data set. Wow, and that was totally unexpected. All our performances really went down, and we were really able to understand what were their, main problems that they were facing.
I enjoy working with a startup, and one of the reasons was we got exposed to more current problems, and the details, some of the details that we did not understood before about problem. The startup founder really highlighted that, just so that we understand what set them apart, and some of the little details that they're trying to work on to set themselves apart. And I thought that was very interesting. Another thing I want to mention is the engagement that we got from the startup founder. I appreciate that a lot too.
The data was real. It was dirty, but and real world. But that also gave us the opportunity to really give them some ideas that they hadn't thought about. And I always imagine that a startup founder knows what they're doing and feels what they're doing, but everyone is human, and I was really happy to help them to think a little bit outside of their own box and maybe help them to cut off some of the ideas that they didn't need. So that was really, really cool.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. So to very quickly summarize what you said in terms of working with startup founders, so the part that you got to interact with them, get into their thought process was very interesting and rewarding for you. And all the real life challenges of doing that, like they don't necessarily have the cleanest data out there. They have not necessarily, thought through all the details, some of the questions that you ask. Of course, a lot of the questions that you ask, they already have thought about it, but sometimes you can really nudge them outside of their box and think differently about a problem. And that's the whole point of crowdsourcing, so that we can bring in new ideas to the table. Again, a few of you mentioned that this whole model is not something that you're super used to, and probably at the beginning, you didn't quite know what you were getting into. So in the hindsight, like when you look at it, at what happened, what was the most surprising aspect of this experience for you?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the surprising thing actually was, in fact, the team itself, the teamwork. It was, you kind of go into these things and you think, well, I can do all that modeling, I can do all that stuff, and I'll go and do it. And, but really, this was such a big challenge, and you had to do so much in such a short period of time that you really needed a team. And, I was really impressed with the way everybody. I think everyone was in the same boat. Everyone felt they could do everything, but yet we all kind of agreed, well, we'll focus a bit. You do that, you do this, you do that, and it was the value of being able to bring that together was very good. And I thought, so it was the team. So Martin, focused very much on getting the model, itself working. I was trying to sort of run glue and be the person pulling stuff together, doing a bit of everything really in some ways, but it was the teamwork. It was truly everybody contributed, and if someone had not done their bit, this thing would never have worked. And I was just really impressed with how such a problem, people gravitate to solving it, and the egolessness of the whole sort of community was really good.
in my own industry, in my own space, I know the impact of COVID, for example, right? But I didn't know how much could have been it could have COVID impacted other spaces, and it turns out that it dramatically changes your models. It dramatically affects your processes. So we have to adapt in the middle of the competition. We have to be resourceful and come up with some new strategies to process this data.
Yeah. One of the most beneficial things that I got out from this challenge was being able to work in a group, communicate, and distributing the works between member of groups. I thought that was an important skill set. I think coming in, I mostly worked on project by myself, and that was different. That was very different. So communication, I think, learned quite a lot from it. And another thing was I was just very, very happy with the exposure to the entire AI production process. I thought that was a great learning material there. Being able to see how it started, how the question was even formulated to begin with, and come up with the end product. I think that was a very satisfying feeling at the end.
Yeah, I think that one of the surprising aspects is we had to complete some kind of project in a very short time frame. People were giving their personal time, and I was surprised at the effort that everyone put in, not just focusing on their core skills, but actually trying to do more than their core skills and becoming uncomfortable with doing more than just the core skills, instead of just being an NLP expert, or do some ML ops as well. And people were trying that and spending that time and making mistakes. It was a great environment. I noticed that people could make mistakes, and we were critical of each other, but in a positive way, and also using the other teams to have critique and bouncing ideas off the startup founders. And I found that really a little bit of a surprise at how fast that all went, but also how much effort people put in. That was fantastic. Personally, I learned, or I took away, that having a width of skills is as valuable as having the depth of skills. And the environment really allowed for people to actually, and also for myself, to actually try and use the width of the skills, be forced to do that. And that was something that was unique about the environment, because you have a client which has real life data and a real life problem.
You have to trust your team, basically. Don't try to micromanage. So the most important thing is to understand your team member, what are their strengths, and let them basically develop, enhance their strength and use their strength. And what I found is sometimes your way is not necessarily the best way. So trust your team members.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. So again, like to summarize very quickly, the interesting aspects and surprising aspects for you was how much effort each individual did put in towards the team goal that you had. And that's phenomenal and very, very important aspect of what we're trying to do, which is, really bringing the community together to solve a problem in a much more efficient way, sort of like, citizen science / citizen builders, if you like, is what we're going for here. And that's a phenomenal, trend that has been happening in a lot of areas. And we're very happy that we can, support and amplify efforts of individuals like yourselves. And another very important aspect for you was being able to learn on the fly, because, you had a lot of things you were comfortable with, you were putting all of that in, but there were a bunch of things that were outside of your comfort zone, and you really had to push yourself to learn those on the fly and, apply them right away, which is very different than, MOOCs or any other sort of experience like that. So, you learned quite a bit from this experience. And, as winners, you definitely have a few good tips for your future selves, when you want to participate again. And for any other person who wants to do essentially what you did, which is participate in a challenge and win in it. So what's your advice?
Yeah, I mean, I think, really critical in this type of real world project is you need to keep yourself on track. You can't sort of get behind on a given piece, otherwise, you just won't succeed. So, being focused on the end goal and knowing how to kind of structure your project is important. And I think the framework that Aggregate Intellect provides is actually pretty good. I mean, at the beginning, you kind of think, do I have to really fill in all these things in? But actually, it's really valuable. And so don't shortchange that piece, I would say, is really important. But I think the real advice is focus on the MLOps. Like, you can have great ideas, but if you can't repeat them and just run through it again and again and again and try some new ideas and go through those again and again and again, it's just not going to work well. And you've got to share between multiple people who need to be able to kind of test out, is this actually working? Inject their own ideas into the thing. And MLOps really allows you to do that. So from the very beginning, put some kind of MLOps in place. Whatever it is, whatever your favorite framework, doesn't matter. Just get something.
You have to try different type of solutions. You have to try different type of domains. That's how you end up learning skills or knowledge from different domains, and you end up growing in your career. So I would say that don't just narrow down in one specialty, because you really in this emerging technology, you get a lot out of different domains. And more specifically in the challenges, you need to be able to communicate with your team, and especially in the offline setting. There will be a lot of people, available in different hours, and you have to be very transparent with them. Keep them updated about what we are doing, and keep all the conversation going. It will not be as fluent as in the office setting, when you have the opportunity to jump into meetings anytime. It's completely different. You have to adjust, and you have to adjust to this mode of operations. But being transparent with your team about your availability, sharing ideas, and communicating on this offline setting is critical.
You have to be passionate about the problem. Otherwise, you're going to be suffering when you're working on a project. If you don't have interest in the problem, then it won't be fun. The thing is, make sure you like the project. And if possible, talk to the person before joining the team. So can you work with the other individual first? If you, like I said, team interaction is very important, right? And if you can work together, then the successful rate will be a lot higher. I wouldn't worry about the technical part. If you have problems, the technical leads will be there to help you.
Do it.
So
and building a project is it's a great way to learn about ML. I cannot argue otherwise. And another thing that I suggest you to think about, and I believe building ML product is beneficial, is that there are a lot of good data scientists out there. I don't think I am anywhere near those people, but I think at the end of the day, I think what you are remembered for is the products that you deliver, the presentation of yourself. And if you have great skill set, but you don't put that in perspective by building something, solving a problem, I think you won't be able to get the attention that you need and go where you need to be that way. And so again, go back to the point that building an actual AI product is beneficial in that way. And this challenge provided that, obviously. And so coming into the challenge, I think it's best to set expectation to yourself, the amount of time that you are willing to commit. There will be some learning involved, so be prepared to set aside time to do that. and be patient. You will be working in a group with different peoples with different backgrounds.
I think in order to be successful in these challenges, come with soft skills. It isn't all about the technology. Come with an attitude, which is an openness. Your colleagues, as you get to know them, they might display skills that you didn't expect, that are non-technical. Try to get to know them as quickly as possible, so that you can collaborate really well. Second thing is, think about the end goal in mind, which is to produce a deliverable to the client. That is really important, and it has to be a deliverable that can be used and can be repeated on. So think about the inputs as well as the outputs, and build the ML ops around that as you go. Do it as early as you can. And thirdly, come with a business-focused mindset. The reason why startups are there is because they are a business. They're not just about the technology. So when you come with that approach and you also bring your technical skills, you can actually do something really, really good, and is well-rounded that you can present. Because if you can't present, then you can't communicate. And
awesome. So just again to summarize, some of the things that you mentioned were the ability to very quickly experiment with ideas, and having the discipline in your team to divide and conquer and figure out how you want to iterate on ideas as quickly as possible, and really bringing out all the skills that are necessary in real world. Not only the technical ones, ability to teamwork, ability to communicate your results and such. So if I may ask each of you to, say any last words you have for our audience and people who are considering participating in this challenge.
Okay, my last word is everyone should take this capstone project. So you learn the right way end-to-end ML product development correctly. So because you have technical leads there to teach you the correct way to do a proper ML product development. So don't try to, learn it in your own way. Sometimes it's not necessarily correct.
if you want to learn as much as you like on a theoretical scale, you can do that. But if you really want to build something, aggregate intellect challenges are the way to go, where you build real products with real people to solve real problems, and they have real consequences. So combine your technology skills with real business skills and solve something, and take that away in your hands. That is the reason to do a challenge.
You should definitely consider joining this challenge if you want to build an end-to-end solution with a structured methodology and working with on a real world application, working closely with a sponsor, with a client.
Yeah, you should definitely take this challenge because you will go through the ML development product the right way, and at the end of it, you will have a functioning ML product that you can share with your friends and colleagues and set yourself apart.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this is live. This is real world. These are real projects with real data and real teams. And most meaningfully, these are real outcomes. Like we produce stuff that, will probably be used by the company. It feels just like real life, and you really are engaged on a real project.
Thank you so much for spending your Sunday morning with us and sharing your experiences. Hopefully, this is going to be very valuable, and I'm sure it will be very valuable to our audience and anybody who's considering participating in the challenges. Just to summarize, this is like real life, but happened in a sandbox. So it doesn't necessarily have all the components of what will happen in a real life experiment, but it gets very, very close to it. And you can really get a lot out of this experience by, really activating your theoretical knowledge to build a real life problem, to build a real life solution for a real life problem. And, help out a startup founder, innovate and build awesome things. And the most important component is that there is a cash prize involved in these competitions. It's not a huge amount, but it is non-zero. And hopefully that will compensate you for all the hard work that you did, in addition to all the great learnings that you gain as we talked through the past half hour. Thank you so much, and hope to see you on AI.Science. Thank you.